If you've experienced unexplained midlife changes and you were told that maybe you're just stressed out or that is probably your age, well, this episode is definitely made for you because what you're feeling might not be just stress. It might be perimenopause, and no one has connected the dots for you. Well, no one until today, because I am helping you break through the fog, the frustration, and the flat out misinformation to answer one of the most common and most important questions that I hear from women practically every week. Is this stress or is this menopause? Well, I am dropping truth bombs today so that you walk away knowing how to spot the difference, why it matters, and what you can do right now to start feeling like yourself again with clarity, not confusion. Now, before we dive in, let me be clear about something. This isn't about blaming doctors. This isn't about blaming self-care either. This is about finally giving you the answers and the language to understand what's happening inside your body, especially when it feels like everything is changing at once. I'm Tafiq Akhir, Mr. Menopause here, a certified and award-winning menopause and healthy aging strategist, and I've helped thousands of women decode their symptoms, advocate for themselves, and reclaim their vitality. And I'm here to do the same for you today. Because if no one has ever taught you how to spot the difference between a cortisol spike and a hormone drop, that's not your fault. That's a failure in education. And we're about to change that. Welcome to the Mr. Menopause Show. Now, here's the first truth bomb that I'm dropping in this episode. Stress and perimenopause look almost identical on the surface. Brain fog, irritability, anxiety, low mood, trouble sleeping, unexplained weight gain, and no motivation. Sound familiar? But here's where things get dangerous, and this might even blow your mind. See, most people, and yes, even doctors, still see these symptoms and assume that it's just stress. And while the result, women are sent home with a therapy referral, a breathing app recommendation, or even a prescription for an antidepressant without ever being asked about their menstrual cycle, their hormone history, or their metabolic health. So if you've ever left the doctor's office feeling dismissed, confused, or ashamed for even bringing it up, well, I want you to know this. First, you're not wrong for asking. Second, you're not crazy, and you're definitely not alone. In fact, I hear from women all the time who are just quietly suffering through symptoms that no one has explained to them. Symptoms that are real, disruptive, and often misdiagnosed. Because when your hormones are shifting and no one talks about it, well, you start to question yourself. You question everything: your body, your mind, your relationships, your confidence. But let's be clear, this isn't weakness. This is biology. So, what's actually going on? Well, during perimenopause, which is the 3 to 15 years leading up to menopause, your reproductive hormones fluctuate like wild roller coasters. And yes, I said 3 to 15 years, meaning if menopause typically starts around 50 or 51, perimenopause can begin at 35 for many women. And this is when estrogen spikes and plummets erratically, progesterone steadily starts to decline, and testosterone drops. And we can't forget cortisol, which is your primary stress hormone. Well, it becomes harder to regulate. And here's the twist that most people miss. These hormonal changes directly amplify your stress response. The same stress you handled 5 years ago, like deadlines, traffic, family chaos, loud noises, well, they can suddenly feel unmanageable. You're snapping faster, crying more, sleeping less, and you're blaming yourself. But it's not your fault. And it's not your mindset either. It's your biology in flux. And look, here's a real life example. A 44-year-old woman starts waking up at 3 a.m. every night. She's exhausted by morning, foggy all day, snapping at her kids and zoning out during meetings. She assumes it's stress, so she takes time off. She tries cutting hours, goes gluten-free, she meditates, journals, buys new supplements, but nothing helps. Her doctor tells her it's anxiety and recommends therapy. But what's actually happening though? Well, she's entering perimenopause, and her progesterone, which is the calming hormone that helps to regulate GABA, which is a neurotransmitter that supports sleep and emotional regulation, well, they are tanking. And that drop, well, it's impacting her ability to calm down, stay asleep, and respond rationally to everyday pressures. And this is why those 3 a.m. wake ups happen. It's why your fuse is so much shorter, why your old tools, even the healthy ones, aren't working like they used to either. So, what's the bigger issue here? Well, most doctors receive fewer than 4 hours of menopause training in their entire medical education. They're taught to treat surface symptoms rather than investigate hormonal root causes. So, when you walk in talking about brain fog, panic attacks, weight changes, and sleep disruptions, well, they're not thinking hormonal imbalance. They're thinking mood disorder, or worse, that is just aging. And that's how thousands of women, maybe even you, get misdiagnosed or left untreated for years. And let me say this again because it's that important. You are not broken. You are not overreacting. And what you're experiencing is not just in your head either. And here's another myth that needs to disappear. And that's this idea that perimenopause only affects your period. That too is wrong. See, your cycle might change, become heavier, lighter, or more erratic, or it may even disappear for a while. But perimenopause impacts your entire body, your brain. Hello, memory issues and brain fog. Your gut, like bloating, food sensitivities. Your metabolism with weight gain, even if you haven't changed your diet. Then there's your skin, which changes with dryness, acne, and dullness. Your emotions change with anxiety and less joy. And your stress response, well, it is totally out of whack. So, no, you're not imagining it. And no, you didn't miss the memo. The memo was never sent. So, now what do you do? Well, step one, pay attention to patterns. Are symptoms worse during certain weeks of your cycle? Do they come and go unpredictably, like a fog rolling in and then rolling back out? Do you feel like your body is betraying you even when you're doing all the quote unquote right things? And if yes, then it might be time to look beneath the surface because if your nervous system is shot, your sleep is wrecked, and your mood is all over the place, well, there is a good chance that your hormones are playing the key role here. And understanding them is your first step towards taking back control. Now, before we move on, I want to make sure that you're getting the most out of this episode. And if what I've shared so far is already hitting home, then don't just listen, take action. And to make that part a little easier, I've created a free companion workbook for this episode. It's packed with simple prompts, reflection questions, and next steps to help you connect the dots and to start building your personal clarity plan. Because look, information is power, but implementation is what changes everything. Now, you can grab your free download right now using the link below or in the show notes. Well, now that we've exposed just how easily perimenopause gets mistaken for stress and how deeply that misdiagnosis delays real relief, well, it's time to go a little deeper. And in the next segment, I'm going to show you why stress feels 10 times worse during perimenopause, how your stress hormone cortisol hijacks your metabolism, and the surprising truth about why even healthy habits like intermittent fasting or high impact workouts might be backfiring. This next part might blow your mind and it could change how you approach your entire wellness routine. Stay with me. Welcome back to the Mr. Menopause Show. I'm Tafiq Akhir, and if you've just joined me, well, we're exploring one of the most misunderstood topics in women's health, and that's distinguishing between midlife stress and perimenopause. Now, in segment one, I showed you why these two look almost identical on the surface and how that confusion is keeping women trapped in cycles of misdiagnosis and self-blame. Now we're going to pull back the curtain on something even more shocking. Why stress doesn't just feel worse during perimenopause, it is worse, and why the very things that you're doing to manage that stress might actually be making everything worse. And you may be thinking, but I'm doing everything right. Well, let's discuss why it's no longer working. Now, if you've ever wondered why your yoga classes aren't helping you anymore, or why your morning workout leaves you more drained than energized, or even why you can't seem to lose weight no matter how clean you eat, well, this segment is going to change everything about that for you. Now, truth bomb number two is that during perimenopause, your stress response gets hijacked. And I don't mean, oh, you're just more sensitive now. I mean your body's entire stress management system, the same one that has kept you calm, focused, and resilient for years, well, it starts working against you. You might be thinking now, wait, my body is sabotaging me. Well, let's break that down. Your adrenal glands, which produce cortisol, are now being asked to do double duty. Before perimenopause, well, your ovaries were your primary estrogen factory. But as they start shutting down production, guess what has to pick up the slack? Your adrenal glands. So now these poor, overworked glands are trying to manage your daily stress like they always have and produce the hormones your ovaries are no longer making consistently. It's like asking someone to work two full-time jobs simultaneously. Well, something's got to give, right? And what gives? Your stress resilience is what gives. So my client Sarah, a marketing director and mother of two teenagers, came to me. Well, she's 46, and she said about 5 years ago she could handle a crazy day at work. She could come home to chaos, make dinner, help with homework, and still have energy for her evening walk. But now, that exact same day leaves her wrecked. Her heart races over things that never bothered her before. A delayed flight sends her into a panic spiral. Her teenagers roll their eyes, making her want to cry, and she keeps thinking to herself, what's wrong with me? I used to be so much stronger than this. But here's what Sarah didn't know. Her cortisol response is now completely erratic. Instead of the smooth, predictable curve it used to follow, rising in the morning to wake her up and declining at night to help her sleep, well, now it's spiking unpredictably throughout the entire day. One minute she's wired and anxious, the next she's crashing and can barely keep her eyes open. And this is not a sign of weakness, by the way. It's because her hormone production system is in chaos. And you may be thinking, just as Sarah did, she said, I thought I was doing all the right things. Well, most women aren't even aware that this hijacking is even happening. So they do what they've always done when they're stressed. They cut calories. They try to exercise more. They eliminate food groups. They push harder. And every single one of those strategies, well, during perimenopause, they backfire. Because healthy isn't always helpful, because not every healthy habit is beneficial for every individual's needs. Take intermittent fasting. For years, maybe you've heard it's excellent for weight loss, brain function, and longevity. And for some people at certain life stages, sure, it can be. But during perimenopause, skipping meals signals to your already stressed body that there's a famine happening. Cortisol then spikes even higher, your metabolism slows down to conserve energy, your cravings start to spiral out of control. So instead of losing weight, you start storing it, especially around your midsection, because that's where cortisol loves to deposit fat. Equally as bad, though, you may be burning muscle instead of fat. Then you say, okay, so no fasting. But what about HIIT, which is high intensity interval training or high impact interval training? Now let's go there because HIIT workouts are often praised as the gold standard for fitness. But here's what most instructors won't tell you. High impact exercise can be a stressor. And when your body is already drowning in cortisol, adding more physical stress, even in the name of health, can push you over the edge. But I do need to make a clear distinction though, because there is a difference between high intensity and high impact when it comes to interval training because they are not the same. High intensity training, when done correctly, can actually support your hormone health and your metabolism. Think doing 20 to 30 minutes of structured movement using moderate weights with higher reps, no jumping, and minimal joint stress. Just 2 to 3 of these sessions a week can be incredibly effective, especially when combined with gentle restorative movement on the other days. And that would be things like walking, stretching, biking, swimming, or even Tai Chi. But high impact routines, well, with explosive jumps, sprints, burpees, and back to back boot camps, well, those are a different story. They spike cortisol, strain your joints, and exhaust your adrenals. And when your body is already drowning in stress, they can push you past your tipping point. So, yes, movement matters, but the right kind of movement matters more. And I've worked with women doing everything quote unquote right according to their fitness tracker. They're working out 6 days a week, hitting their step goals, eating clean, taking their supplements. But they were gaining weight, losing muscle, sleeping terribly, and feeling more anxious than ever. But why? Well, it's because their bodies are stuck in a perpetual state of stress. Their workouts weren't building them up anymore, they were breaking them down. And then you might say, but Tafiq, exercise is supposed to help. Yes, but context is everything. You're absolutely right. Under normal circumstances, movement helps reduce stress and regulates hormones. But perimenopause isn't normal. During this transition, your body is hypersensitive to all kinds of stress. Physical, meaning intense workouts, low calorie diets. Emotional, relationships, parenting, and burnout. Environmental, toxins, noise, poor sleep. And mental, overthinking and perfectionism. And here's the kicker: your body cannot distinguish between good stress and bad stress. A cortisol spike from a HIIT class looks the same to your adrenals as a spike from a work deadline or a fight with your partner. Stress is stress is stress. Now, what does this mean for your metabolism? Well, it means everything, because when cortisol is chronically elevated, it doesn't just affect your mood or energy. It literally rewrites the way your body handles food and stores fat. See, high cortisol increases insulin resistance. It promotes fat storage, especially visceral fat. It breaks down muscle tissue for quick energy, and it triggers cravings for sugar and refined carbs. It also slows thyroid function, disrupts sleep, which just worsens hunger regulation. It's like your metabolism gets stuck in emergency mode, constantly preparing for a famine that never actually happens. Jennifer was 48 and came to me after gaining 30 pounds in 2 years. And despite eating less and exercising more than she ever had in her life, intermittent fasting, running 2 miles a day, cutting carbs, taking supplements, well, her cortisol, it was through the roof. Her sleep, it was terrible. Her energy, non existent by 3 p.m. And then we can't even talk about her confidence because it was shattered. And she told me, she said, I felt like my body is working against me. And she was right. Not because her body was broken, but because she was following strategies designed for a body she no longer had. So here's what I need you to hear if these struggles sound familiar to you. Your body is not broken. Your body is adapting. It's doing what it's designed to do during this hormonal shift. But the rules of the game have changed. The strategies that worked in your 20s and 30s, well, they might be sabotaging you now. And if there's a light bulb going off and you're thinking, wait, is this me? Well, then I've got something that can help you get clear fast. And it's called the Menopause Clarity Quiz. It's a free tool that I created to help you determine where you are in your hormone journey, identify connected symptoms, and determine your best next step. You don't need another guessing game. You need clarity, and this quiz is the place to start. Now, you'll find the link in the show notes or the description for this video, and you can take it right after this episode if you'd like. And listen, when you try to force your body into submission instead of supporting it, that's when you burn out. And in the next segment, I'm going to show you exactly how to break the burnout cycle and to start feeling better, stronger, and more balanced. I'll be sharing the 3 non-negotiable changes that you need to make to your daily routine now, how to exercise in a way that actually supports your hormones, the surprising foods that help stabilize cortisol, and the one mindset shift that changes everything about how you approach this transition. Now, this next part is where it all comes together, and you don't want to miss it. See you after this. Welcome back to the final segment of today's episode. I'm Tafiq Akhir, your host, and if you've been with me for the last 2 segments, then your mind has probably been blown at least twice, right? Well, we've exposed how perimenopause gets mistaken for just stress. I've revealed why your stress response gets completely hijacked during this transition, and we've uncovered the shocking truth about why your healthy habits might be making everything worse. But now comes the part that you've been waiting for. What actually works, right? Because I'm not here to just expose the problem, I'm here to provide you with real, practical solutions that work in harmony with your changing biology rather than working against it. And look, I'm going to be completely honest with you. What I'm about to share goes against almost everything that you've been told about health, fitness, and weight management. It might challenge beliefs that you've held for years, but it's also going to set you free. Now, here's truth bomb number 3, and this is the big one. The solution to feeling better during perimenopause isn't about doing more. It's about doing less of what stresses your system and more of what supports it. And that starts with the biggest mindset shift you'll ever make. You need to stop treating your body like it's broken and needs to be fixed, and you need to start treating it like it's going through the most significant biological transition since puberty, and it needs to be supported. Because here's what I've learned after helping thousands of women through their hormone health and weight management transitions. And it's that the women who thrive during perimenopause and midlife in general aren't the ones who fight their biology the hardest. They're the ones who learn to work with it. So let's start with non-negotiable change number 1. You must prioritize sleep recovery over everything else. And I don't mean try to get 8 hours. I mean you need to completely restructure your relationship with sleep and recovery. And here's why this is a non-negotiable. Poor sleep during perimenopause creates a vicious cycle that makes every other symptom worse. And when you don't sleep well, your cortisol stays elevated all day. Your insulin resistance increases. Your hunger hormone goes haywire. Your emotional regulation, well, it just disappears. Your metabolism, well, it almost comes to a complete halt, right? It just slows down. Your immune system weakens, and then you wake up the next day trying to solve all these problems with willpower and a green juice, right? Well, look, that does not work. And let me tell you about Kimberly, who came to me completely burned out. She was waking up at 5 a.m. to work out before her kids got up, going to bed at midnight after cleaning the kitchen and prepping for the next day, and getting maybe 4 to 5 hours of broken sleep. She actually thought she was being disciplined. She thought she was doing what successful women do. But her body was falling apart. Her weight was creeping up despite the early morning workouts. Her energy was crashing every afternoon. She was snapping at her family and even crying in her car. This might shock you, but the first thing I told her to do was to stop the 5 a.m. workouts and to sleep until 6:30. But I'll gain weight if I don't exercise, she said. Well, listen, my go-to phrase for all my clients is to trust the process, and that's what I told her. And when she did, within 2 weeks of prioritizing sleep, her energy stabilized, her mood improved, her cravings decreased, and after a month, she started losing weight without changing anything else. Because when your cortisol finally has a chance to regulate, everything else starts to fall into place. But here's the thing about sleep during perimenopause. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. And quality sleep during this transition requires some specific strategies as well. First is the 3-2-1 rule. 3 hours before bed, no more food. 2 hours before bed, no more work. 1 hour before bed, no more screens. Next is the temperature drop protocol. Keep your bedroom between 65 and 68 degrees. Your declining estrogen makes it harder to regulate body temperature, and even a few degrees too warm can disrupt your sleep cycles. Then there's the magnesium game changer. 400 to 600 milligrams of magnesium glycinate before bed. Not magnesium oxide, which just gives you diarrhea. Not magnesium citrate, which is energizing. Magnesium glycinate, specifically because it supports GABA production, helping to calm the nervous system. And here's the mindset shift that changes everything. Stop treating sleep like it's optional or lazy. During perimenopause, sleep is medicine. Sleep is your secret weapon. Sleep is how you reset your entire hormonal system every single night. Now, non-negotiable change number 2, you must completely rethink your approach to movement and exercise. And this is where I'm going to challenge everything the fitness industry has taught you, because the fitness industry was built for men, by men, based on male physiology and male hormonal patterns, if we're being really honest, right? But men have steady hormone levels throughout the month. Their testosterone peaks in the morning and declines at night, every single day like clockwork. So for men, crushing a high intensity or high impact workout every morning makes perfect sense. But for women, your hormones fluctuate throughout the month. And during perimenopause, they fluctuate unpredictably, which means the no pain, no gain approach doesn't just not work for you, it's actually working against you. Now, here's what hormone smart movement looks like. Week 1 and 2 of your cycle, if you still have one, well, this is when estrogen is rising. You can handle more intensity. HIIT workouts, heavy weights, and challenging yoga flows, well, go for it. But remember, high intensity, not high impact. Now, week 3 and 4, estrogen drops, progesterone rises, or it should, and this is when you want to shift to even gentler movements, such as walking, restorative yoga, and light strength training. But what if your cycle is completely irregular or has stopped altogether? Well, then you listen to your body daily. Ask yourself every morning, what does my body need today? If you wake up feeling energized and strong, then you can engage in more intense movement. But if you wake up feeling tired, overwhelmed, or emotional, then gentle and restorative movement is recommended. Now, let me give you some specific examples. So, instead of 6 days a week of a high intensity class, well, do 3 days of strength training, 2 days of walking, and 2 days of restorative movement. Then, instead of running until you feel exhausted, walking at a pace where you could still have a conversation is a great alternative. Instead of pushing through when you feel terrible, honor your body's signals and rest when you need to. And look, here's the exercise that's been a game changer for every single woman that I've worked with. And that's doing daily walks in nature. Not power walks, not fat burning zone walks, just gentle, consistent movement outside. And here's why it works so well. It reduces cortisol naturally. It regulates your circadian rhythm. It improves insulin sensitivity without spiking stress hormones. And it gives you vitamin D and fresh air. It also provides gentle, sustainable movement that doesn't deplete your system. You know, I have clients who've lost more weight from daily 30-minute walks than they ever did from boot camp classes, because gentle, consistent movement works with your hormones instead of working against them. Now, non-negotiable change number 3 is that you must start eating to support your hormones, not to punish your body. And this is probably the biggest shift of all, because diet culture has taught us that our bodies are the enemy, right? That we need to restrict, control, and punish ourselves into submission. But during perimenopause, ladies, restriction and punishment make everything worse for you. Your body is already stressed. Your cortisol is already elevated. Your metabolism is already confused. The last thing it needs is more stress in the form of extreme calorie restriction or food elimination. Here's what hormone supportive eating looks like. First, eat enough protein, 25 to 30 grams at every meal, not just dinner, every meal. Protein stabilizes blood sugar, supports lean muscle, and helps to produce neurotransmitters that regulate your mood. Next, don't skip meals, especially breakfast. When you skip meals, your cortisol spikes to maintain blood sugar. This is the opposite of what you want during perimenopause. Next, include healthy dietary fats. Your hormones are made from fat. When you go low fat, you're literally depriving your body of the building blocks that it needs to produce estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And then you want to time your carbs. Instead of avoiding carbs altogether, eat them strategically. Including some carbs with dinner can help you to sleep better by supporting the production of serotonin. But here are the specific foods that can help stabilize your cortisol levels. First is adaptogens, including ashwagandha, rhodiola, and holy basil. These herbs help your body adapt to stress more effectively. Then there's omega-3 rich foods like wild salmon, walnuts, flax seeds, and chia seeds. These reduce inflammation and support brain health. Then there's magnesium-rich foods like dark leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate, avocados. See, magnesium is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body. And then, of course, probiotic foods, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, miso. Your gut health has a direct impact on your hormone production and your stress response. And here's the food that's been a revelation for many of my clients, and it's tart cherry juice before bed. That's right, tart cherries are one of the few natural sources of melatonin. A 4-ounce glass about an hour before bed can significantly improve your sleep quality. Try it out. You'll be surprised. But the most important shift isn't about specific foods. It's about completely changing your relationship with foods. Stop seeing food as the enemy. Stop using food as a means to punish yourself for perceived failures. Start seeing food as a source of information for your body. Start using food to support your energy, your mood, and your hormonal balance. Ask yourself, will this meal support my cortisol regulation? Will it give me sustainable energy? Will it help me sleep better tonight? And here's the mindset shift that changes everything. Perfect is the enemy of good. You don't need to eat perfectly. You don't need to give up sugar forever. You don't need to eliminate entire food groups either. You just need to consistently make choices that support your body more often than you make the choices that stress it out. I recommend the 80-20 rule. 80% supportive, 20% flexible. That's sustainable. That's realistic, and that's how you create lasting change. Now, let me tie this all together with one overarching principle that governs everything. During perimenopause, less stress always wins. Less food stress, less exercise stress, less sleep stress, less life stress. Your body is already dealing with the massive stress of shifting hormone production. Your job is to remove as many additional stressors as possible. This might mean saying no to commitments that drain you, asking for help instead of trying to do everything on your own, choosing the gentler workout over the punishing one, eating a satisfying meal instead of a restrictive meal, going to bed earlier instead of staying up to be productive. And of course, I have to share this reminder before we wrap things up. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are not lacking willpower or discipline. You are going through one of the most significant biological transitions of your life. And listen, just as you wouldn't expect a caterpillar to continue functioning like a caterpillar while it's becoming a butterfly, well, you can't expect your body to continue functioning the same way while it navigates perimenopause. This transition is asking you to shed old ways of being that no longer serve you. Old ways of pushing through exhaustion, old ways of punishing your body, old ways of ignoring your needs. And it's inviting you to a new way of being, ways that honor your body's wisdom, ways that support your changing biology, ways that actually work. Because here's what I know after years of doing this work. The women who emerge from perimenopause feeling better than they have in years aren't the ones who fought their transition the hardest. I'm going to say that again because they're the ones who learned to work with it. They're the ones who chose support over punishment. They're the ones who chose gentleness over force. They're the ones who chose to trust their bodies instead of fighting their bodies. And that can be you too. You just need to start. And start with one thing. Maybe it's prioritizing your sleep this week. Maybe it's swapping your HIIT class for a nature walk. Maybe it's eating breakfast every day instead of skipping it. Again, just start small, be consistent, and trust the process. Your body is not your enemy, it's your greatest ally. And when you start treating it that way, everything changes. So the next time you're wondering, is this stress or perimenopause? Remember, it could be both. And either way, the solution starts with listening to your body, not fighting it. The real question isn't whether it's stress or hormones, right? The real question is, how will you support your body so that you're no longer drowning in both? I hope you got value from this episode and that you'll share it with someone who may need it. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive into the truth about perimenopause and stress. I'm Tafiq Akhir, Mr. Menopause here, and I'll see you next week on the Mr. Menopause Show. Until then, stay safe and be well.